And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
If you watch my Top 100, you know that Marvel Legendary is one of my favorite games. I love it. I love the Marvel Universe. When I heard that they were making a Guardians of the Galaxy movie this summer, I was not entirely enthused about it. I said it could be good, could be bad, because I knew about the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comic books, but I had liked Groot and Rocket Raccoon, and I'd liked them a little bit, but they were kind of just something I would read every once in a while. They were slightly interesting, but the movie really brought them to the forefront. Were very popular. My kids love them. I like them now, and I'm very excited to see them added to this game, even if we tend to think of them as the movie characters in the game rather than the comic book characters. But hey, let's add those. And what else could you add? Could we add Thanos? Could we add the Infinity Gems? Is Avengers 3 packaged inside this box? Yeah, it actually is. Let's check it out. 5 new heroes are included with this expansion. Big surprise there. We got Groot, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax the Destroyer. And we got some mere typical cards that you might normally have. A scavenger, you can discard a card to draw a card. Here's Rocket Raccoon's best card, where he's 5 attack, but he gets +1 for each Master Strike in the KO pile. So this one gets better. It has a vengeance to it. I very much like this card. It's a very useful card. Drax can KO cards, and his best card, he can double the attack power you have, which could be bad. And this is one of those cards that in the right circumstances could be amazing, and in other circumstances could be very small. Now, what this game comes with, it comes with shards. There's a bunch of shards that are included with the game, and they're different colors and different values, and they're okay, but I'm going to replace mine with something else, something that actually looks like a shard, and use them. And the way shards work, in this instance, here at Gamora, when you play this card for 2 money, a villain gets a shard, which is not something that I'm a real big fan of, but here, Rocket Raccoon, if you play him after another Guardians for the Galaxy, you get a shard for each other hero you played this turn. Now, if you get the shards can be used as extra attack, and you can save them from turn to turn. So think of shards as attack that is, bankable. When villains get a shard, let's say, for example, that the villain here, Dr. Minerva, gets a shard, their power goes up. So she's now up to a 6 strength. Whenever you beat a villain that has 1 or more shards, and or a mastermind that has 1 or more shards, you have to beat, she'd be a 7 now, but you also get to keep 1 of the shards. And so there are a lot of cards that have to do with shards in this game. They're, like, for example, here, Groot here can get 2 shards, and he can spend shards as money on this turn. Here, Groot can KO a card from his hand or discard pile and get a shard, so he can get rid of wounds and turn them into shards. Gamora has a card that just gives her 2 shards, and if played in the right combo, gets an extra shard. She also has a card that stops a villain from getting shards, or even, if she really pulls off the right combo, the Mastermind. I am Groot, the card everyone wants just because of the name. When you get a hero, you get shards equal to that hero's cost, and considering this is 5, this could be considerably powerful. There's also cards in the game called artifacts. Now, the way artifacts work are, when you buy an artifact, it goes in your deck like normal. When you play an artifact, though, it stays in front of you. And most of them have powers that you can use once per turn. Like, for example, this one here, every turn you can draw a card. Or Gamora's really awesome artifact here, where every turn she gets 2 shards, and she can spend 5 shards for 10 attack. Oh, that's pretty powerful. Star-Lord is the character with the most artifacts. Here, he once per turn get a shard. Here, then his most powerful card piggybacks off that, where he can get a shard for each artifact he controls once per turn. Here, when the Master plays a Master Strike or an Ambush ability comes out, you get a shard for this artifact. Here, everyone else has to reveal a hero discards an artifact they control. For each artifact, you get a shard. So Drax the Destroyer he's kind of a pain to work with, which again is very thematic. And Star-Lord has one where he can copy other people. So this is what the Guardians of the Galaxy are. They have a new symbol up here, and they have artifacts and shards are the new things that they add to the game. The game also comes with 2 new masterminds. We have the Supreme Intelligence of the Kree, who's one of them, and he works with shards. Basically, whenever he does a Master Strike, he gets a shard. Everyone has to reveal their hand and discard cards that are equal to or cost 1 higher than the shard. So if he gets 4 shards, that can be kind of deadly. Basically, he gets more powerful as the game goes by. He is, however, I would say, in the lower end of villains you can beat. Like if you're buying a set and you want not so difficult of a challenge, you'd want to go up against the Supreme Intelligence. There's also a group, the Kree Star Force, and it's fun to use the Kree with the Skrulls at the same time. But here we have this guy here who the Supremer and the Mastermind each gain a shard. So you can see if you use him with the Kree, he can be more powerful. And many of these different people will work with the shards, including Ronan, who I was a little surprised was not a mastermind. He's just a normal guy here. Everyone asks me this every time we play, but he is still pretty powerful. And he has a funny ability when he comes out, everyone has to point their finger at somebody else, and whoever has the most fingers at them gets a wound. Not terribly bad, but just interesting. Now, I said that the Supreme Intelligence wasn't that difficult. On the other hand, we have Thanos. Thanos, look at that. He's a 24. However, he's -2 for each Infinity Gem Gauntlet card you have, which, if you manage to get 6 of them out, would be -12, and he would still be at 12 attack. And that's with him having no shards or any other abilities. He's tough. Now, he comes into play with the Infinity Gems. These are enemies that, when they come out, they're really tough. Like, for example, here, the Space Gem gets a shard for each empty space in the city. But when you beat these, they go into your deck and they become a fairly powerful artifact. This one here lets you move somebody from one spot in a city to another spot in a city. That's probably the weakest of all of them, but it's also the easiest one to beat. The Mind Gem gets a shard for each Scheme Twist in the KO pile, but it gives you +2 every turn. The Reality Gem gets a shard for each Infinity Gem that's in the city or the escape pile, but when you're using it, you can look at the top card of the villain deck. If it's not a Scheme Twist, you can put it on the bottom. So it's a way to kind of skip some of the people that are in the game, or some of the villains that are coming in the game. Here, you reveal another card from the villain deck, and it gets shards equal to that card's victory points, which could be pretty powerful, or might not be so powerful. And here you can put, when you play it, you get an extra turn. And so this one isn't an artifact that happens all the time, but can give you 2 turns in a row. And then there's the Soul Gem and the Power Gem, and there's an extra copy of the Reality Gem and Space Gem. But these are also in the game to add things. And with Thanos, combined with Thanos, they're both instrumental in defeating him, but they also are pretty hard to beat on their own. There's also some more Scheme Twists, or some schemes. The igniting the shards, the Kree Skull War, like I said, mixing them together is a lot of fun. Then we have the Forged Infinity Gauntlet, so if you want to play the Infinity Gauntlet, you can do so. And then the Intergalactic Kree Nega Bomb, which is a really funny one where you're trying not to beat this bomb before it blows up. So this is incredibly a fun expansion based on theme alone. Here I can have Thanos, and I can take Thor and Gamora, Drax the Destroyer, and Hulk up against, that's just entertaining. But I'll just come out and say this, that Thanos is hard, really hard. I haven't beaten him. I haven't even got close to beating him. I'm not sure you can beat him if you're playing with 4 more players. I think maybe 2 or 3 with the right group. I think you should probably bring the Guardians of the Galaxy if you're going to beat him, because they can use shards to their benefit. That being said, the shards and the artifacts are great. Now, granted, they're both kind of stolen mechanisms from other ones. The artifacts come from Ascension, and shards have been showing up in other games as money, not maybe attack. But they're both very simple, basic mechanisms, and they're great. And almost wish I could see artifacts for other of the heroes. I wouldn't mind having Captain America have a shield artifact, or Thor have a hammer artifact, and I do wish they'd come out with, like, when I make fun of these expansions to expansions, but an expansion that had a few extra cards for many of the other characters in the game, like artifacts, and then it came out with different cards for all the heroes that we've seen released thus far, and or let us use shards with them. Because the shard and artifact things are very fun, I highly enjoy them, but they're restricted to what's in this set. That being said, I have mixed the Guardians of the Galaxy with other people. I've mixed the villains in, and it works really well. They fit in pretty well, although you'll be sitting there really enjoying how these new things work and the artifacts, and everyone's like, oh, I want to get that character too. Which of these new characters is my favorite? Probably Drax. I love that double the attack power. Groot is my favorite character probably from the storyline, but I also like Star-Lord with all those different artifacts that he has. They're all very cool characters, and you'll see people jumping on board. Probably my favorite small box expansion. Very easy to enjoy. Love the theme. Love the two mechanisms. If you already have Marvel Legendary, this is probably a must-buy. If you've not heard of these characters, haven't watched the movie, still get it because the mechanisms are cool, and it lets you fight against probably the hardest mastermind in the game at this point. I think Thanos is harder than Galactus. Very difficult. I doubt they'll go harder than him because, whew, but still, a lot of fun. And you can now play the Infinity Gauntlet. That's one of my favorite storylines. So, Guardians of the Galaxy. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Yeah?